fervent heat. This the part where we turn the heat up. 8,000 degrees. It's warfare music. Put on your armor.
Shalom, shalom. Coming back to you with another episode of Feed the Lions. In this segment, we're going to talk about the covenant. Another word for covenant is ultimately the agreement. It's similar to like a 360 contract deal that these rappers sign, but this one is a blood and covenant signed and sealed by the Most High God, which we will talk about the origins from Abraham, Isaac, and ultimately to Jacob, and ultimately leading to the 12 tribes of Israel, his sons, who inherit the covenant, the agreement, which was given to us through the father faith, whom also known as Abraham. Right now we're going to go to Genesis chapter 10, and we're going to read all the way down. For context, we're going to go to verse 7. And today I have a special guest with me, my reader. Who dropped in the neighborhood. He will be my reader for today.
So this is Genesis chapter 17 and verse 7. Mm-hmm. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee, and thy seed after thee, in their generations.
Now this one is talking about Abraham. The Lord said, I will establish my covenant with you and thy seed that come afterwards. His lineage. Keep going.
For an everlasting covenant.
Now it says an everlasting covenant. It's not a sometimes covenant. It's not like you do a 3-album deal and then you out of the covenant. The Lord said is an everlasting covenant. That means this is forever. And to generations to come. Keep going.
To be a God unto thee and to thy seed after thee.
So he will be a God unto us and the seed that comes after the fact. Like after you give birth, your children's children, and your children's children's children afterwards. So this is the covenant. No matter where you are, you could be in Africa. The covenant is still going to be with you as long as you're an Israelite. Keep going.
And I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God.
You see, the Lord said again, he reiterated, he's going to be our God. He didn't say he was going to be everybody's God. He talked about Abraham's seed and his lineage. Not all Israel is Israel. So I don't want y'all to get that misconstrued that all of Abraham's kids is all chosen, because we already know Isaac got chosen right after the fact, and we're going to go into that a little bit later. But Ishmael did not get chosen. His lineage did not get chosen. Even though they have the same dad, but we already know the Lord is only dealing with his chosen, the ones he chose, not the ones that we chose. Keep going.
And God said unto Abraham, thou shalt keep my covenant therefore, thou and thy seed after thee in their generations.
You see, in their generations, that means in each person's generation, we have to keep the covenant, because this is the agreement that the Lord made between Abraham, man on earth, which is Abraham, and us. I mean, man, Abraham, and us, and the Most High God. This is the covenant. This is the contract, the agreement. Keep going.
This is my covenant, which ye shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee.
After thee. And the covenant is these laws, statutes, and commandments. The ceremonial laws, the moral laws, the dietary laws, and how to dress and stuff of that nature, how we deal with one another. So this is the covenant that we must keep. This is the origin of it. Where did it come from? People might ask, like, where did this covenant even originated from? But this is the originator. Sorry for the lack of better words. How you say it? The originator? Progenitor of the covenant. Slakia. You going?
Every man child among you shall be circumcised, and ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant betwixt me and you.
Now, a lot of y'all might be thinking this is weird, but the Lord dealt with cleanliness. So we already know the foreskin, it attracts bacteria. So when you take off the foreskin, he wants you to be clean, a clean male. He don't want you to be like these other nations who's dirty, unclean. I mean, who's dirty, who's nasty and stuff like that. The Lord wants to be clean, represent him, his holiness, through the flesh and the spirit. So this is what this is talking about. A lot of y'all might think it's kind of weird. No, it's not weird, because it's got a lot of health benefits behind it. So this is a token between us and the Lord. So circumcised. Ultimately, we circumcise in our hearts. That's the bottom line of it. We circumcise in our hearts as well. Not just our flesh, our hearts as well, which is our mind, body, and soul. Keep going.
Verse 12. And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you.
So like your newborn. So if you have a man child, ultimately a son, he has to be circumcised within the 8th day of childbirth. That's the covenant. That's the agreement which we must keep for all male childs. And ultimately, this is our gateway or the key for us to come into his Passover. So ultimately, it's important for us to make it to Passover. Keep going.
Every man child in your generations, he that is born in the house or bought with money of any stranger, which is not of thy seed.
That means people that's in our house, which is of our family, our kinfolk, skin folk, even the stranger, because we know we used to we purchase people not for the slavery that we participated in, but different, like hire, like your employee, like how we are today in today's time, modern time, but like we employed by Esau. So we had those type of workers back then. We wasn't whipping them, raping them, and stuff like that. It was a contract. Keep going.
Verse 13. He that is born in thy house and he that is bought with thy money must needs be circumcised.
See, it's important. The Lord is saying it again. They need to be circumcised because he wants us to be clean. You might think it's not important, but everything is important. If the Lord say it, it's very much important because it has a lot of health benefits behind it. Keep going.
And my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant.
And that's why, because the covenant got to be in our flesh also. A lot of us might think, oh, he knows my heart. Yeah, he knows desperately wicked. But you also, whatever you do to the flesh, the spirit got to be parallel to what's going on with the flesh. It got to go coincide with one another. It got to be parallel. So your flesh got to be right, and your spirit ultimately got to be right too, in order for the Lord to dwell in you ultimately, because he can't dwell in a malicious spirit. A malicious soul or spirit or anybody who's have malice in their heart or anything like that. You got to be circumcised in your spirit and circumcised in your flesh ultimately.
Verse 14.
Oh, verse 14.
Verse 14. And the uncircumcised man child, whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from his people.
And that's why it's important, because you don't want to be cut off from being amongst your people, being amongst the chosen, being the golden child, and being looked upon by the Most High God. You want to keep him at your forefront. You want him to see you as the apple of his eye. You don't want him to cast you away. You don't want to be cut off. Like the foreskin is being cut off, like a castaway. So this is the ultimate punishment. If you don't be circumcised, the Lord say he gonna cut you off.
Want me to finish that verse?
Oh yeah,
19?
it's like you. No, you can finish the verse.
Okay, come on. I'll start from top. Verse 14. And the uncircumcised man child, whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from his people. He hath broken my covenant.
See, you're a covenant breaker if you don't get circumcised. Now we're gonna drop down to verse 19.
Verse 19. And God said, Sarah thy wife shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac, and I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him.
See, now this is the covenant being passed down from Abraham, the father of faith, and ultimately from Abraham to Isaac. And then we're going to go from there to there. We're going to run through it of how the covenant became passed down from generation to generation. This is how orally and traditionally how it became to be passed down from generation to generation, in case you was wondering. Now from Abraham, now it's getting passed down to Isaac. Now we're going to continue to read.
Verse 20. And as for Ishmael.
See, now as for Ishmael, his other son, even though he had two sons, the Lord is only dealing with one. He chose one, throw away the other. Both is not needed. He didn't need it. He did not need Ishmael. He needed Isaac. He chose Isaac. Even though Isaac didn't do no wrong, it's just The Lord have favorites, okay? He has those he's dealing with, those he's not dealing with. And right now he's dealing with Isaac, not Ishmael. So those of Ishmael's lineage, he's not dealing with them. I know y'all want to bring everybody into the fold. The Lord don't want everybody into the fold. He only want a select few. Keep going.
Verse 20. And as for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly.
See, even though the Lord is not dealing with him, he still gave him blessings. He didn't curse him. He still blessed him with abundance. He gave him his lot. But Israel is the Lord's lot. That's his portion. But he's still a fair God, a fair and just God. Even though he's not dealing with Ishmael as the same way he's dealing with Isaac, he still blessed Ishmael at the end of the day. So don't think the Lord is not fair. He's still fair. Keep going.
12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation.
See, he's a great nation. He's not a weak nation, timid nation. The Lord still made him great, but not greater than Israel at the end of the day. Or Isaac. He didn't make him greater than Isaac or Israel. Keep going.
Verse 21. But my covenant will I establish with Isaac.
See, he reiterated that. Even though I will make him great, Ishmael, but my covenant, he established that with Isaac, ultimately. That's whom he dealing with. From Abraham to Isaac. You going?
Which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this set time in the next year.
See, she was due for delivery of that next year, that following year. But that's how it was passed down. And then from there, we're going to go to the next person. It will be Jacob. Genesis 25 and verse 22.
This is book of Genesis chapter 25 and verse 22. And the children struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb.
You see, even though they have the same mother and father, the Lord divided them in the womb. He said 2 nations is in thy womb. Even though they're the same parents, but he divided them. They're not the same at the end of the day. Because the Lord says so, not because we said so, and we go on based upon science. It's the spirit behind it. Your science can't see the spirit behind a man, woman, and child. We don't know that. Only the Lord can see it, because he created this. Keep going.
And 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels.
See, 2 manner of people, so they're not the same. They're like fraternal twins at this point. Keep going.
And the one people shall be stronger than the other people.
Now, we know physically we're stronger than the so-called white man, Esau. As blacks, brown, Hispanics, Native Americans, descent alike, we're stronger. But the only thing that made us weak is because we didn't have our God on our side. That's what made us weak. That's why they was to overcome us, because we didn't have the Lord. But the Lord, DNA-wise, hair-wise, everything that has to do with your genetics and your DNA, he made us completely stronger. We don't get skin cancer like they do. We don't get those elements like they do. We're just better. Keep going.
And the elder shall serve the younger. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb.
These twins was fraternal twins. They wasn't the same. They didn't look alike or nothing. One was red. We're going to get into that. One was red, one was black. Okay? Keep going.
And the first came out red, all over like an hairy garment. And they called his name Esau.
See, this one came out looking peculiar, not peculiar, or peculiar, like special, how the Lord deemed Israel as being peculiar. He was just strange. He's funny looking. Like you have a funny looking child. You know, when white babies come out, they look funny. We know that. When black babies come out, you say, oh, you want to kiss it and stuff. The white baby come out, you be like, what the heck? He look dead. He like a waste man. That's why they call him Esau, because he looked dead. He lacked melon. That's why. He was a waste away. He was a waste. Keep going.
Verse 26. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel.
See, he grabbed hold of his heel.
And his name was called Jacob.
And now you notice how they didn't describe how he looked. They didn't say he looked black or anything like that, or ruddy. They didn't need to go into the description of how he looked, because we already know everybody in this Bible was a melanated skin tone. Esau was the only one that looked strange. He looked unfamiliar. We didn't recognize that type of color. That's the first sign of that type of color. Because we came from the earth. And we know it's no such thing as white earth or white grounds. So Esau came out looking different. So he wasn't of the earth. He didn't come out looking brown, black. He wasn't light skin, a red bone, which you always say. He looked different. You going?
And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them.
Now 3 scores. So if you do 3 times 20, a score is 20. You would get the age. We used to have kids in our 60s and 80s and 100s. Abraham, I believe he was like 100 years old, or Sarah was like 100 or some years old when they had their firstborn. So it's not odd that a 60-year-old, we can't do it now today, in today's time, because our body is not the same. It's throughout our generations, our body have decayed over time. You going?
Verse 27. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter.
So you like Esau, he's the policeman. He goes hunt slaves, the fugitives, the so-called fugitives and all that. He's known for to be a cunning hunter. You see him out in the wild, hunting lions, bears, oh my, you name it. He wants to attack them. He's craven, the hunter, ultimately.
A man of the field. And Jacob was a plain man.
Now he says plain man, he was simple man. He was just very simple. He didn't want much. He didn't require a lot. He was low maintenance. Even though he was cleanly man, but he didn't require too much.
Dwelling in tents. Verse 28. And Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of his venison. But Rebekah loved Jacob.
You see, Isaac loved Esau.
And Jacob sought pottage. And Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint.
See, he was weak. He just came back from hunting. He's weak. He's lacking electrolytes right now. He's in desperate need of Jacob's pottage, red pottage.
Therefore was his name called Edom. And Jacob said, sell me this day thy birthright.
Have you noticed like how the name changed? He got his name from Esau to Edom over his lack of faith, right in the instance. That's when the Lord changed his name instantaneously. He didn't even know it. He went from Esau to Edom and instantaneously. He didn't even know it. Now, when the Lord bless and give another person like Abraham a name change from Abram to Abraham, it became spiritual. He got his name from doing something wicked. Abraham got his name changed from doing something righteous in the spiritual sense. So take note of that.
Verse 31. And Jacob said, sell me this day thy birthright. And Esau said, behold, I am at the point to die. And what profit shall this birthright do to me?
Now, a lot of y'all might think Jacob played Esau. He didn't play him, because the birthright was already given to Jacob since the beginning. Jacob was just wise enough to utilize his mental capacity way beyond Esau, because Esau didn't see no importance of that birthright, but Jacob did. And that's what the spirit that the Lord put upon Jacob. So he didn't finesse him or play him. It ain't like Esau had it and he lost it. Well, he did lose it, but he lost it a long time ago before he was born. He didn't have it. He ain't got the spirit within him. If you ain't got the spirit behind that covenant, or to have the spirit to want to like push towards the Lord, you're not going to have it. You're not going to have that it factor, which divide us from the rest. So ultimately, that's what it was. Jacob had that spirit of the Lord on him. Esau didn't. And it shows you by their actions. You going?
Verse 33. And Jacob said, swear to me this day. And he sware unto him.
Now he promised him. He solemnly swear. He pinky swear. You can't take it back. He swore unto him. So the word is bond. Once you swear to somebody, you got to keep that truth. Y'all make that covenant. Now this when they made a covenant with each other. He made a contract. Swear unto me. He said, I do. Just like a wedding vows. You can't break it. Some people are truce breakers, but you can't break a truce. If you make agreement with somebody, don't be a truce breaker. Now Jacob, he was, like I said, he's using wisdom again. He had the Spirit of the Lord on him, ultimately. Keep on.
And he sold his birthright unto Jacob.
You see, this is a good transaction. He had what he wanted and he gave him what he needed. This is an even exchange. So don't say he committed robbery. He didn't steal from him. This was a fair exchange. He said, he swear this is the rules of the agreement. He agreed upon it. Esau agreed upon it. He didn't care for the birthright at this time. So it's a fair exchange. You going?
Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink.
So he gave him soup and bread. He ate and drank. His God was his belly. He only cared about pleasing his stomach. He didn't care about pleasing the Lord. He just wanted to eat. Jacob wanted a lifetime legacy to leave behind. So his spirit was already on par with what the Most High wanted for him. Esau wasn't. Esau wanted the field. Jacob wanted the spiritual world. And Esau wanted the field. Jacob wanted the world, ultimately. You know what?
And rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright.
See, he hated his birthright. He despised it. So the hell with that. That's like saying, what the hell with the Lord? Now, ultimately, that's how it went from Abraham, Isaac, into Jacob. Now we're going to go to the 12 tribes of Israel. How we inherit the covenant, the agreement, the birthright, ultimately. We're going to go to Exodus 24 and 3.
The book of Exodus chapter 24 and verse 3. And Moses came and told the people all the words of the Lord and all the judgments, and all the people answered with one voice and said, all the words which the Lord hath said, we will do.
See, they did a assembly line, one band, one sound, similar to the drum line. They agreed upon this. They say, I'll do this. This is like the Lord became our husband in this instant, instantaneously, because we said, I do. This is just like your wedding vows. When you at the altar and your preacher, pastor, whoever you want to deem to give you off, we said we do. This is the terms and conditions. We do. Lord, we want you. We accept you. We gonna do this. We down for you. We're 10 toes deep. So this is how it happened. We said we do. We agreed upon these terms and conditions of keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. The Lord enforced upon us. We said we was gonna do it. You going?
Verse 4. And Moses wrote all the words of the Lord, and rose up early in the morning, and builded an altar under the hill, and 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes of Israel.
See, these 12 pillars represent the 12 tribes of Israel, and then on these pillars you had in Exodus 20, what is that called? The 10 Commandments. Well, you had the commandments written down, and we said we agreed upon these things. And the 10 Commandments not that hard. You just gotta have a willingness to do it. Like the scriptures say, the flesh is weak, but the spirit is willing and able. I'm paraphrasing. Keep going.
Verse 5. And he sent young men of the children of Israel, which offered burnt offerings, and sacrificed peace offerings of oxen unto the Lord.
And you notice how he said of the children of Israel, everybody's not included in this covenant. Everybody wasn't there. When Moses was giving his sermon, when Moses was talking to the Lord, and we agreed upon the Most High God terms and conditions, everybody wasn't included. Everybody was not there in attendance for this special spiritual event. Everybody was not there. Only the children of Israel, as you can see. So you can't be adding people into the fold. You can't do that. It's not there.
Verse 6. And Moses took half of the blood and put it in basins, and half of the blood he sprinkled on the altar. And he took the book of the covenant and read in the audience of the people.
See, that's like he just taking this book. Like they had a different version of the Bible. It wasn't as thick as this one, but Moses had written a book. When you think about Bible, you think about biblios, so many books. So Moses read this book, and he read out of the book, similar to what we're doing right now. And we said, I do, and he sprinkled it. He put some of the blood for the offering to the Most High God, and basically like similar to a jar, and for sacrifice. And he sprinkled the rest of it on the altar, similar to what we do on Passover when we put the blood on the doorpost, similar to that. And he sprinkled it on Israel. This is the blood covenant. Ultimately, we blood in, blood out. So this is how we We blood in this thing. We Israel by blood. That's how we became Israel by blood. From this act alone. Keep going.
At point two.
Come on.
Also, it's good to know or just think about when it said he read into the book of the covenants. It's like he read you the terms and conditions.
Come on.
And he just read you the terms and conditions. We agreed to it, and now you got to seal the deal and sign that contract or put the what they call it, like a king seal in a sense.
God, similar to like the e-signature. Yeah. When you get like a you have to sign the paperwork from your job, and we spiritually signed it. And then when you say I do and you made a vow to the Lord, you can't take it back. You can't renege it. You can't be like, Lord, I changed my mind. No. When you made a promise to the Lord, you make sure you keep that promise. You read that throughout the scriptures. Because we already know obedience is better than sacrifice. Keep going.
Exodus chapter 24 and verse 7. And he took the book of the covenant and read in the audience of the people. And they said, all that the Lord hath said will we do, and be obedient.
See? We said that we will do it. It's easy, so you can't say it's hard. Because even back then, we were saying it was easy. And we said we're going to do it. And we said we're going to be obedient to it. We didn't say we was going to put up a fight. We wasn't going to come out kicking and screaming. We said we was going to do it. So, you can't say the Lord ain't fair. He gave us a choice. We made the choice.
Verse 8. And Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the people and said, behold, the blood of the covenant which the Lord hath made with you concerning all these words.
Ultimately, you when you think about this blood covenant, it's similar to how Yahweh became the sacrificial lamb and he sprinkled the blood, like a lot of y'all Christians like to say, the blood of Jesus. It was ultimately the same thing, the same ritual that took place the days of old. This was like the same blood covenant. It's the same thing.
That was it.
Just to make that note. And then that's how we have the covenant ultimately passed down from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, ultimately to the 12 tribes of Israel. And this is the covenant in a different form. It's called the agreement. And with that, I say shalom. Thank you for watching. Thank you.
Shalom.